Hey everyone, it's Katie. So I've been pretty much enjoying the Overstory so far. It's definitely an interesting book. I enjoy that everybody's very different in the novel so far. So one of the sections that I keep thinking about is Ray and Dorothy's story. So the chapter, begins with two people who are very, very opposite of each other. Ray's a lawyer and he seems to enjoy structure, and Dorothy is much more free-spirited. And, you have your typical first date, usually dinner, coffee, or movie, but Dorothy picks a first date that's totally out there, and it is auditioning for a play. Which, honestly, I love this idea. I think that is such a cool first date. You know, you're very vulnerable on your first date already, and then acting in front of other people, especially when you don't act, is an extremely vulnerable situation. So it's just kind of cool. You get to see, take a really raw look at somebody and kind of make a decision if you think they're worth keeping around. So I also get the idea that, Dorothy is kind of sick of your typical lawyer types, I guess. Structured is the word I'm looking for. And she is kind of willing to see if he will do this with her 3 nights a week for 5 weeks, which is on page 66 of the ebook. It might not be the same in the other book. But then she ends up giving him a chance. And, they do seem to work out, but you can see Ray is way more smitten with Dorothy. And she's definitely not fully sold on the relationship yet. And when he, after 5 weeks of hanging out, he suggests, he proposes almost, which is crazy. But Dorothy says, I'm supposed to go backpacking in South America for 2 years, move to a village and take drugs, get involved with a light plane pilot who moonlights for the CIA. So she's still very much valuing her independence, as she should as a young woman, which I think is totally cool. It's great, good for her. But she does seem like she does want to end up in a relationship with him. So they have their ups and downs, and in the beginning of the chapter they talked about two people who don't care about plants at all, and I love that at the end of the chapter, Dorothy has that moment in the car accident of realization how much she really loves Ray, and he had suggested planting things just to do something different. And after her scare in the car accident, they agreed to. I just thought it was like a really cool little love story. And then another quote that I was thinking about quite a bit was on the very first page: sun and water are questions endlessly worth answering. And I thought about this for a while, trying to interpret it. And, the sun and the water are two of the most important fundamental basics of nature. Almost every living thing needs sun and water. So to me, it suggests that we're more similar to plants and trees than we think, and we need to be constantly adapting to sustainable living. And finally, one of the biggest aspects of the roots section was Douglas's relationship with trees after he was saved by that banyan fig tree when he fell out of the plane. He says he owes his life to trees, and he's a Vietnam vet. He's definitely suffering from PTSD. He's very aimless, which he came back from fighting in the war and almost died, and typically vets aren't taken very good care of, especially after Vietnam. So he just ends up becoming a drifter, and as he's going to see his friend in Eugene, he sees the national forest all torn up, and he is just devastated. So he takes a job planting Douglas firs, and he says it's the most American, he says it's America's most valuable timber, and he owes his life to trees, so why not give back to them? He says trees fall with spectacular crashes, but planting is silent and growth is invisible. And I think he's definitely suffering from PTSD, and in a way he relates the destruction of trees to the war, and planting of trees to something he can be peaceful with. And finally, it is not related to trees, but the supplemental source I would recommend for roots after Douglas's chapter for me was the song Born in the USA by Bruce Springsteen. It is a song about the U.S. not taking care of our Vietnam veterans, and it is definitely eye-opening to everything that they came home from. You know, there's a quote in it, 10 years burning down the road, nowhere to run, and got nowhere to go. And Doug comes home, traumatized and aimless. Says life counts down, 9 years, 6 jobs, 2 aborted love affairs, 3 state license plates, 2.5 tons of adequate beer, and 1 reoccurring nightmare. So, yeah. I get that this part isn't tree related, but it's something I do think we need to be more aware of and take care of our veterans when they come home from war. Okay, thank you guys. Bye.